You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, Internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Most writers and radio show hosts know that to connect with your fans, you need to do more than just write books or record the latest podcasts. There are many different elements that go into forming an online platform, but there are also many hidden traps. To make matters worse, solid advice on how to survive the muddy waters is scarce. In the book Hidden Traps, I talk about some of the important issues of working with an online platform, highlighting traps that could put your physical or internet security at risk or be harmful to your reputation. Are your social media posts just links with a few disjointed words, making you look like someone who can't complete a sentence? Did your new website cost you more than you anticipated? Are you leaking your personal contact details across the web without even knowing it? Then you need Hidden Traps. Hidden Traps is now available in paperback and ebook from a variety of retailers, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. Visit blackwolfpublications.com for more details.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq. Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now, 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Sometimes writers feel lost, unsure why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services, visit blackwolfeditorial.com.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
My name is Jessie, and I'm proud of the life I have, surrounded by military and aware just how big the world really is. I have a unique perspective on life and the world around us. If you're willing to listen, I'll tell you how I see it, and I won't pull any punches. This is my POV, which stands for Point of View. Alright, how y'all doing out there tonight? Yes, it's Jessie. Yes, I miss you when we're not talking. What a story for tonight. I could have more, but this was what I had time to print. Two unlikely allies, Saudi Arabia and Israel. Now, this is not something to take lightly. And I mean that with zero joking. I am absolutely serious. I can't stress how not to take this lightly. I really don't. You've got flights to Israel now getting overflight rights from Saudi Arabia. You've got women in Saudi Arabia driving, which is something I never thought I would see in my lifetime. And now the Crown Prince in Saudi Arabia says Israel as a state has a right to exist. Whoa, time out. What is going on? No, seriously. What is going on? Because all I can say is, what? I'm not kidding. I'm just sitting here going, my jaw's on the floor. And the more I dig into this, the funny thing is, the more I find about it, that it was right. And I'm sitting here going, wait a minute. I'm not buying this. I'm not buying this. So I dug in further and I dug in further. Yeah, it's happening. And there is a quiet, very off the books alliance being formed. And no, I'm not joking. No, I'm not kidding. Sorry, I couldn't joke about this one if I wanted to. Because this one is just absolutely groundbreaking. I don't know what to say. I'm sitting here wondering if I am watching the very, very infancy of a Muslim Reformation. And you're looking at me going, Muslim and Reformation in the same sentence. Yeah, I just went there. And I went there for a number of reasons. And I'd love to have you in the chat room hanging out with me for this one, because this one is insane. By the way, just as a reminder, you missed me live. KLRN Radio is on iTunes, iHeart, Google Play Music, Stitcher. It's all over the place. Just go grab it. Now, back to what I was saying. And yes, I'm sitting here catching my breath as I'm saying this, because these are words I never thought I would say in my lifetime. And I know I'm repeating myself, but I don't think you understand how huge this is. I really don't know if you do. And I don't know how to explain this one, other than to say this is groundbreaking. I know it's insanity. These two have had a rocky relationship. To say the least. And I am sitting here going, I never thought I would see this. But, I've got to say, I'm glad. Now, there is a reason behind it. There is a reason behind it. That reason is none other than Israel, or Iran. And I can't even begin to explain. These two, and I mentioned this on the air last night, were both against the Iran nuclear deal. Yes, they were both against it. And I didn't just use U.S. news sites to get this one. I went to Middle Eastern news sites. And yes, that included the usually anti-English Al Jazeera, or anti-American Al Jazeera. And I do apologize for Mr. Frog there, but I'm sitting here going, wait a minute. So I dug around a while. And I wanted to see if this was a new thing, or if I just missed something. Well, it's not news. Now, Al Jazeera said that Mohammed bin Salman, the crown prince's statements couldn't have been timed more poorly. And from a stage managing point of view, I can believe it. Because, trust me, the last thing they want is to be seen backing Israel when Palestinians are getting killed. Now, wait, what? Yes. Palestinians are being killed, but they are stirring up trouble along the border between Israel and the Gaza Strip. And remember, Hamas and Hezbollah are funded by none other than Iran. Yes, I've said it before, and I will happily repeat it. And this quiet alliance seems to have been going on for a little while now. And I'm just sitting here as I've been going back through this, going, how did I miss it? Well, I know partly why. I often don't cover stories involving Israel because, cards on the table, I'm Jewish. America is the country of my birth. However, Israel is the second country that has my heart. So, I will never renounce my U.S. citizenship. I doubt I will make Aliyah, which for those of you who don't know, that means return to Israel. So I dug around, and I went for news sites, the crazy, the insane, the unbelievable, and everything I could find. I dug, I scoured, and I'm really wondering if they are beginning to realize you shouldn't be enemies with someone on your border. Now, I'm not going to get into the U.S.-Mexico thing. That is, and the caravan of illegals. Of course, I'm aware of it. I'm a news junkie. But that doesn't mean I'm going to cover it. You want that? Talk to Rick on AOTR, or Jen and Rick, or go to another show here on KLRN Radio. Go elsewhere. Because, sorry folks, womp womp. Fail. But King Salman reiterated Saudi Arabia's support for a Palestinian state after his son and heir apparent said Israelis were entitled to live peacefully on their own land. That is a very, very rare statement by an Arab leader. And I'm searching for the one piece of audio that I'm digging for about Jerusalem. And it's one of those things, I'll get to it in a minute and I'll explain my reasonings in just a moment, as soon as I find it, assuming I can find it. Because trust me, this one's buried. This one is buried far and deep, I have no doubt. Alright, so We have all been tied up watching Russia, 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 North Korea, North Korea, North Korea. And we have, a lot of us, self-included, have taken our eyes at least partially off the Middle East. Now, I do believe that the two-state solution is the way to go. I don't believe the 1967 borders are defensible. But I also don't want to see the constant fighting that goes on. The constant fighting is at the very least counterproductive. And I'm just sitting here, I will admit, in awe. Alright, so King Salman did reaffirm the kingdom's steadfast position towards the Palestinian issue and legitimate rights of Palestinian people to an independent state, with Jerusalem as the capital. Jerusalem's a pretty big city, folks. I'm willing to think it could potentially be a capital to two countries. But I know that that's probably a non-starter and probably something that is unlikely to happen. Now, the report from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia did not refer to the comments by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. And the exact quote was, "The Palestinian and the Israelis have a right to their own land, but we have to have a peace agreement to assure stability for everyone and to have normal relations." I wish I had audio on this. I wish I did, but I don't. Now, Saudi Arabia does not recognize Israel, or it hasn't. Could that be changing? Potentially. It is maintained for years that normalizing relations hinges on Israel withdrawing from Arab lands captured in 1967. In other words, going back to the 1967 borders. And, however, increased tension between Riyadh and Tehran, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, yes, that is what is at play here, has brought these two unlikely allies together. I am not entirely certain how deep or how long this is going to last. But I do have one groundbreaking piece of audio, and this was UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, not the current one, the one before.
Positions of UNESCO are positions of the governing body of UNESCO. They're not. It is clear for me that the Temple of Jerusalem was destroyed by the Romans. It was a Jewish temple, as it is clear for me that Jerusalem is today a holy city for three religions. These are the facts that nobody can deny.
So let's talk about.
Yes, that was Ban Ki-moon saying that the temple in Jerusalem that was destroyed by the Romans was a Jewish temple, and that it is a fact no one can deny. Now, Iran has a lot of proxies.
Though Iran establishes its proxies first to execute unconventional warfare and then spread its ideological and political influence, these groups often become essential parts of Iran's frontline deterrent strategy once established. This deterrence exists via two layers. First is retaliatory deterrence, the ability to instill fear of significant casualties, destruction of critical infrastructure, or economic destruction to dissuade Tehran's more powerful enemies, such as Israel or the U.S. This draws from what Supreme Leader Khamenei and others have described threat in response to threat doctrines. Proxies also give plausible deniability to help Iran manage escalation.
Now, in truth, Saudi Arabia, while not in a conventional war with Israel or with Iran, is at war with the Houthi rebels, which are funded by Iran. You've heard me say it before, I'm going to repeat it. The Houthi rebels are funded by Iran. And the Houthi rebels, if you recall, have fired on Riyadh. And finally, one of the rocket pieces actually killed someone. And that's just unacceptable. Now, I don't believe that Israel has to choose between being Jewish and being democratic. I really don't. And Israel has been treated differently at the United Nations. And I have some audio clips. The United Nations has absolutely punished Israel in many cases just for existing. Here's an audio clip from our previous ambassador to the United Nations.
But in reality, this vote for us was not straightforward because of where it is taking place at the United Nations. For the simple truth is that for as long as Israel has been a member of this institution, Israel has been treated differently from other nations at the United Nations.
And that is fact. I wish it wasn't, but it is. And here's another quote about it.
One need only look at the 18 resolutions against Israel adopted during the UN General Assembly in September, or the 12 Israel-specific resolutions adopted this year in the Human Rights Council, more than those focused on Syria, North Korea, Iran, and South Sudan put together, to see that in 2016, Israel continues to be treated differently from other member states.
I believe that that would be considered proof that the UN treats Israel differently. Now, if you recall, this was happening on the eve of President Obama leaving the White House. It was December 28th. At least that's when the audio was recorded. And there was a vote in the UN that the U.S. did not back. The U.S. backed, that went against Israel. Here was the Israeli representative to the United Nations retort.
We have full confidence in the justice of our cause and in the righteousness of our path. We will continue to be a democratic state based on the rule of law and full civil and human rights for all our citizens, and we will continue to be a Jewish state, proudly reclaiming the land of our forefathers, where the Maccabees fought their oppressors and King David ruled from Jerusalem. This holy book, the Bible, contains 3,000 years of history of the Jewish people in the land of Israel. No one can change this history.
Now, that's not the only thing that's changing. And no, I don't think that Saudi Arabia is trying to change history. They are well aware they've had a rocky relationship with Israel. No one is more aware than they are. And I don't think anybody could be more aware. And I am chasing an article that I can't find, but I'd seen a link to, but the link seems to be broken. So, and I'm chasing an article that actually places a punishment on spying on your husband's or wife's cell phone, landing you in jail. I'm looking for an alternative site because the original one, yes, I found it. Snooping around on your spouse's cell phone in Saudi Arabia is now a crime that could land the offender in jail or with a fine of up to $133,000. Married individuals planning to spy on their spouse in Saudi Arabia will need to think twice because such an activity could potentially attract a fine of 500,000 riyals, $133,000, along with a prison term for a year. And trust me, Saudi prisons are not the same as U.S. prisons. Now, Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince did meet with Antonio Guterres at the United Nations towards the end of March. And that's shortly after that was when this law was announced. And this is amazing. Women are also now allowed to go to movie theaters in Saudi Arabia. Yes. And women were finally welcomed into the family section of stadiums. Saudi Arabia began screening children's animated movies over the weekend after lifting a 35-year ban on cinemas in the conservative Islamic country. In a makeshift tent, and this was just this past November, friends. In a makeshift tent on the coastal Red Sea city of Jeddah, a film was screened on a projector with the audience even allowed the opportunity to make the most of a popcorn machine. Unfortunately, it wasn't a very good film, but the fact that women were allowed into the family section of the movie theater is amazing. Now, we don't know if men and women were allowed to sit together. All the pictures I've found from the event were of women and children together. But the fact that women were allowed into the theater at all is a huge leap forward. Women also got the right to drive in Saudi Arabia. And I know you Americans are going, so what? Oh, yeah. That's a big thing. Now, Daesh has been threatening Saudi Arabia with attacks. And Saudi Arabia has been harsh on people.
Afford them. But it is also...
Sorry about that. I was opening a website and something else popped up in the background. Yes, just because I have printed show prep doesn't mean I stop pulling articles. But I had just realized I have blown past the commercial break. I keep doing this. I'm going to have to start setting a timer. All right, so I am going to do a shorter than usual commercial break. I know, I'm known for doing the really long ones. Usually, I need them. Tonight is just the opposite. So, I'm going to take a 3-minute commercial break. And I will see you on the other side. Get your freedom, take it by the hand, and don't let it go. Get your freedom, if you don't take this chance, then you'll never know.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm. But even then, he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq. Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now. 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
Most writers and radio show hosts know that to connect with your fans, you need to do more than just write books or record the latest podcasts. There are many different elements that go into forming an online platform, but there are also many hidden traps. To make matters worse, solid advice on how to survive the muddy waters is scarce. In the book Hidden Traps, I talk about some of the important issues of working with an online platform, highlighting traps that could put your physical or internet security at risk or be harmful to your reputation. Are your social media posts just links with a few disjointed words, making you look like someone who can't complete a sentence? Did your new website cost you more than you anticipated? Are you leaking your personal contact details across the web without even knowing it? Then you need Hidden Traps. Hidden Traps is now available in paperback and ebook from a variety of retailers, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. Visit blackwolfpublications.com for more details.
Thank y'all for hanging in there with me while we paid those radio station bills. All right, so I mentioned that Saudi Arabia is now allowing Air India to use its airspace for flights to Tel Aviv. And you're all scratching your heads wondering why it's such a big deal. Well, Saudi Arabia granted permission to India's national carrier, Air India, to fly through its airspace between Tel Aviv and India. So, it cuts the flight time by over 2 hours. That's a lot of gas saved and a lot of less time in a cramped airline seat. That was the first indication, I recall recently, of the thawing between Israel and Saudi Arabia. Now, Israel also put in for a request to use Saudi Arabia airspace. If that is granted, you will hear it for certain on this show. In March 2017, Air India announced it will be operating 3 weekly flights to Tel Aviv. Because India and Israel established diplomatic relations back in the 90s, El Al, the Israel Airlines, flies 4 weekly flights to Mumbai. Now, the Air India aircraft can still not fly over Iran, Iraq, and Pakistan because Israel does not share diplomatic relations with them. And people kind of looked at this and went, yeah, that's nice, whatever. You don't understand. That is actually a huge step. Now, there's also another thing I recently tripped over when I was digging through this. And there were 2 top Saudi officials visit a Paris synagogue. Now, I wasn't able to find the current article, but this is historic. Now, this is an amazing thing because they're not going to do something like this without permission. And the fact that Saudi Arabia didn't try to denounce it was pretty insane. And even when the article was reprinted in various newspapers, including one in Saudi Arabia, no statement denying it came out. Prince Faisal visited a New York synagogue, and it was one of a growing number of public interactions between Israel and Saudi in January. Now, this was January 2016. Faisal met with former Israeli Foreign Minister Tzipi Livni on the sidelines of the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. In the summer of 2016, retired Saudi General Anwar Ashiki visited Jerusalem, meeting Israeli politicians. Okay, this, like I said, at the heart of the visit was the two countries' mutual enemy. And they do have an old peace initiative from 2002 that I think everyone's trying to dust off and bring up to date. And the reason behind this is the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is not the source of terrorism, but it does create fertile ground for acts of terrorism in the region. And this is from the Saudi general, Ashki. If the conflict, and he was quoted as saying, if the conflict is resolved, the countries that exploit the Palestinian issue, most notably Iran, will no longer be able to capitalize on it. Truer words have not been spoken. And Israel and Saudi have even been discussing possible information sharing, at least when it comes to Iran. And Prime Minister Netanyahu said there is cooperation in various ways on various levels, but it is not yet out in the open. But what is not yet out in the open is much greater than any other period in Israeli history. This is a major change. The entire world is changing. And for these things to be occurring, it is groundbreaking. And for the Crown Prince to recognize Israel's right to exist as a state is absolutely crucial. Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman not only affirmed Israel's right to exist, he criticized former President Obama's Iranian policy. And that is also huge. So not only did he do one thing, he made two steps forward. That may not seem like much. Trust me, it couldn't be bigger. It couldn't be bigger. And one of his other quotes is, Hitler didn't do what the supreme leader of Iran is trying to do. Hitler tried to conquer Europe. This is bad, but the supreme leader is trying to conquer the world. And Prince Mohammed equated the leader, the supreme leader, the Ayatollah of Iran, with Hitler, saying he is the Hitler of the Middle East. In the 1920s and 1930s, no one saw Hitler as a danger, only a few people, until it happened. And the fact that Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman has been purported to say that women are absolutely equal to men is another absolutely groundbreaking, insane, but earth-shattering news. This shows how much Saudi Arabia is trying to modernize. Now, these signals aren't sent by accident. You know, the little meetings and the side notes. That was no accident. Then, earlier this week, and this is why I'm going to say this could be the beginning of a Muslim Reformation. Is that Sunni Saudi Arabia is courting Shia Iraq. And they're doing it because of Iran. I'm not going to knock that one. But beneath the golden dome of the Imam Ali Shrine spreads the ramshackle expanse of Najaf, the Iraqi holy city for Shia Muslims, who flock to it in thousands. Arab visitors bow as they pass the shrine. Iranians sitting beneath it recite lilting chants, and Pakistani worshippers rhythmically beat their chest. With little in the way of wealth or resources, Najaf may seem an unlikely place for anyone but Shia pilgrims to seek out. Yet the city is 160 kilometers south of Baghdad, and it has a new suitor: Saudi Arabia. And again, it was Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman that it made these overtures. Now Saudi officials are discreetly shuttling messages to Najaf's leading Shia clerics, who, although wary of being drawn into a proxy struggle, want to hear Riyadh out. And that is amazing. Like I said, you start to put all these pieces together, and it's pretty incredible what may be happening right under our noses. Yes, right under our noses. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Very well. Maybe making peace and establishing more normal relations. Maybe not perfect, but normalizing relations with Israel. And that would signal quite the change. I can't even begin to explain why I didn't catch it earlier. Needless to say, there is hope for some kind of both Muslim reformation and normalized relations between Saudi Arabia and Israel. And I am sitting here one notch before speechless, saying these very words. All right, folks, I need to take a deep breath and yank it together. Just as a reminder, you can always follow me on Twitter at Radio Host Jesse. And please, if you don't listen regularly, why don't you subscribe to the podcast? You don't have to catch it live. You can catch it on Memorex. I love all my listeners, and I don't thank you often enough, because I wouldn't be here without you. Now, I'm working on another good story like this for tomorrow. Haven't narrowed down the topic yet, but I'm working on something really special. And you can bet I'm going to uncover something else we've all overlooked and connect all those dots for you. To finish connecting my dots tonight, remember, Iran trades with Russia, North Korea, and Syria. Iran supports Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthi rebels in Yemen who fired on U.S. naval ships, and Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is an ally. Israel is an ally. It almost makes sense when you look at it in such broad strokes. But I never thought I would see this day. I think the day that Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman touches down in Jerusalem to visit the Knesset, or an official visit to the Prime Minister of Israel, whoever that may be at the time, you will be picking me up off the floor. But at this point, it very well may come to pass in my lifetime. And I thank you all for listening. And don't forget, you miss it live? iTunes, iHeart, Google Play, Stitcher. Yep, it's there, and many other of your favorite locations. All right, folks, I'm gone.